CBS 4 News is on top of a developing story. It's been another night of civil disobedience in Miami. Protesters have been marching, shouting their displeasure with police and capitalism, all while shutting down streets all over downtown and marching on I-95. One speaker addressing the crowd even says she hates the police.
At Brickell City Center, they shouted expletive capitalism and have been hostile, to say the least, with reporters trying to cover the protest. CBS 4's Mike Cunio is one of those reporters, and he's live now in Miami with more. Mike?
Yeah, guys, certainly tense moments out here. This was a very young crowd, but give it to them, very organized as they bounced around between downtown, eventually Brickell, as you mentioned, and then, as these protests seem to do, ended up back on I-95, where they squared off again with police. For the third week in a row, Black Lives Matter protesters in Miami joined others from around the country. This crowd, made up of mostly young adults, marched around downtown, first stopping at the Federal Detention Center, where those in prison tapped on the glass as demonstrators chanted. Miami police recommended non-essential businesses close early because of the protests. That was evident as the crowd moved through downtown. They would make it to the Dade County Courthouse, demanding the police be defunded. They sat on the steps, covering nearly every inch. The hundreds in this organized crowd would then head towards Brickell, sprinting over the bridge to find their way to the Brickell City Center, where leaders called for an end to capitalism, told those in attendance not to talk to the media, and to be on the lookout for undercover police. One of their main messages Friday evening was that their generation would be the last to deal with racial injustice and police brutality. They'd eventually come face to face with some police after moving onto I-95. Now, whenever we see these protests, these streets right outside the Miami Police Department usually covered and filled with police, and that was no different today. We could see the police helicopters as that group of protesters made it on to I-95. Police were ready to see if they were to come here. Obviously, right now the street is clear, a clear sign that things have calmed down for the night, but we expect more protests over the weekend. In Miami, Mike Cunio, CBS 4 News.